some of the questions that have gone unanswered. Brenda, we're going to start asking you some questions. Hopefully we'll get some straightforward answers.
You always do.
I want you to think back now. We're going back many years in your life. You were about 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old at the time. 7. When we first decided that we wanted to adopt. At that time, we were talking about adopting a new baby. All right? Can you think back that long?
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember when we first started talking about adopting a new baby?
Yeah.
Do you remember anything about your feelings at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Well, could you give us a little insight into what they were?
Oh, okay. I remember I was 7 years old, and it was in the summer that you told me that you were thinking about it. You had thought about it years before that, but when it finally became a reality, you started talking to me. And at first I didn't know how to handle it, and then I thought, wait a minute, I'm going to have a little doll, a living doll. And I thought, I was really excited about it. And, by the time we got Pammy, my reaction sort of changed a little bit. I felt inferior. I felt like all this time, for 7 years, I was the baby girl, and all of a sudden, this new baby that it didn't even come from you, comes into our home, and she's taken away everything that I had.
Do you feel that feeling lasted for any length of time, or?
It lasted until I realized that it's so much fun to play with this little person, and I had somebody that I can push my problems on, little things like the room being messy. As she grew older, I can blame it on her. It always flew back at me, but nevertheless, I can give it a shot, blame it on her.
Now, you were not adopted, Brenda. Did you feel that any of the problems were caused because she was adopted or because she was just the younger sister?
Because she was a younger sister.
In other words, the fact that she was adopted did not make a difference.
Well, at that age, you don't really think of adoption as what most people think, who's your real one and who's your, not so real one. Like, questions that I get asked all the time, are you real? I go, yeah.
All right, now we're going to go a few years ahead. Okay, now we decide to adopt again, only this time the difference is the fact that we're adopting a teenage girl. You had a chance to see pictures of Becky. You had a chance to hear all we knew about Becky before we even met her. Could you tell me any reaction you had at that time to that?
That one's a tough one to remember. It's been so long. Again, I was in the same position where I was being pushed out, where I was the middle girl. I was the middle girl, and I no longer had this position because everything you said about Becky described me, and I felt at first, wait a minute, they're taking me away from me. But again, when Becky was adopted, that all changed. We got along, most of the time, and in time, which usually takes not a long time, but in time, we got along.
Well, I'm going to switch over to Sharon right now.
Thank
you. Sharon, you were adopted about 3 years ago, roughly. We're not going to go through months like we always do. I want you to start thinking back, all right? Can you tell me, if anything, the feelings that you had and the difference between being in a foster home and when we adopted you?
Well,
let's go to your foster home. We'll make it easy. We'll start with the foster home. You're living in a foster home, waiting to be adopted. Now, I'm not using the word hoping because I really don't know. Did you hope to be adopted?
Yeah.
All right. Why did you want to be adopted? I mean, you had a home with a wonderful foster family at that time.
Well, I don't know. It's just something that I always dreamed of. It's like a fairy tale, like Cinderella, maybe time will run out or something, and I just wanted a family that I could go home to every day.
In other words, what you're saying is you really didn't feel that you could stay with a foster family indefinitely, that you could count on them as being your family.
Yeah.
All right, now I want you to think back to when you were first told about us. Can you tell me some of the feelings that you had on your mind at that time?
I was excited. Well, I was actually more excited than anything, finally, somebody wanted me,
Well, do you remember any of the information they gave you? Did they show you any pictures of us, or did you get any letters or anything to make you aware of what we were about?
Let's see, we got a picture, of everybody first. And I think shortly after, after we found out about you, that's when I got birthday card, because it was near my birthday. I still have these cards too. And then there was letters that you and Dad sent us.
Going to those letters. On those letters, I remember signing them Mom and Dad. Now, you never met us. We were virtual strangers to you. When you received those letters and you saw the words Mom and Dad written on them, could you tell me, if any, what feelings you might have had at that time?
I don't know, so long ago.
I mean, did you find it do you think that it was a strange feeling of like, who are these people to suddenly refer to themselves as Mom and Dad? I don't even know them?
No, from the letters, I felt like I was already part of the family, from the way the letters were written and the things that were said,
All right, now you've come to us for your first visit, all right? You walk in this door. Suddenly you're looking around and you spend a couple of days with us. Can you tell me how you felt about it?
Didn't want to go back home.
I remember that.
Well, do you know why you felt that way? I mean, was it just a question that you were afraid that you wouldn't come back, or was it because you just were that happy being here?
It was just glad to be here.
It's open.
Thank you. We're going to go to Travis now. Now, Travis, I'm going to make it easy on you because I'm going to pretty much ask you some of the same questions I've asked Sharon. All right? Can you remember back when you were first told that you had a family that wanted to adopt you?
Yes.
Now, you lived in the same foster home Travis did, Sharon did, only you lived there longer, so you had closer attachment. Do you remember any feelings you might have had about the difference between a foster family and an adopted family?
Well, what I was thinking when I heard about it was, someone's asking for all four of us. They're not going to split us up.
At that time, you were split up, is that right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, they want us all, not one or two of us. And I was really happy about that.
In other words, what you're talking about is your sisters and yourself together. There were 3 other sisters and yourself, am I right?
Right.
And you were living in 3 different places at the time. Did you consider what this family you were going into was like? Did you have any thoughts of that?
From the letters, it seemed, I could almost picture being there. Because from the letters.
Well, then the letters were a great help to you. Now, you are blind, so therefore you could not see pictures of us. But when you did finally meet with us, in your own way you saw us, can you tell me any feelings you had about that first meeting?
At first, I guess I could, at first I was kind of scared because, I didn't know what it was going to turn out to be like. And then, after a while I got, it was pretty, I got used to it and it was nice.
Now you say after a while, you're talking about minutes, hours, days. What I'm trying to do, Travis, is give these people an insight of how long it takes for some of you children to feel as members of a family. In other words, did you feel that way the second you met us? Did it take the visiting back and forth? Or did it take the couple of days we spent together on that first visit?
I guess after the first day, I started to get attached.
All right, let me ask you one real twister now. Did it take you long to feel comfortable in using the word Mom and Dad?
Not really.
You felt comfortable using that word, Mom and Dad?
Yeah.
Okay, Travis, thank you.